best bikes ever? Well, of course, it all depends what you're looking to do, where you want to go, who you want to go with. I suppose the simplest thing would be for me just to take the top bikes from the Rocket score, but it's not as straightforward as that. What I'm really looking at in this video are the most memorable bikes I've been lucky enough to ride. The ones I would willingly own regardless of whether they're objectively any good, if I could afford to keep a whole collection in my garage. So here's half a dozen motorcycles that I hold dear to my heart because they're so practical or cheap or exhilarating or outrageous or simply gorgeous to look at. In at number 6, and I'd like to start, if I may, and please bear with me on this, with the humble Honda Vision 110. Yes, this is a difficult one because it's both one of the most endearing and practical bikes out there, while simultaneously managing to be one of the most egregious to ride and be seen on. However, what you're looking at here is as close to free transportation as you're ever likely to encounter this side of the cold fusion revolution. 200 miles per gallon says it all really, especially with fuel prices where they are at the moment. I paid just over 2,000 euros for our Honda Vision, brand new, about 4 years ago. Covered about 6,000 kilometers, so according to my calculations, I must have only ever put about 90 litres in it. We parked it anywhere we liked without a second thought because it hardly took up any space even on the pavement, and we didn't care if it got scratched, and were always safe in the knowledge that no one in their right mind would ever steal it. It started on the button every time because it was a Honda, and that sort of peace of mind is priceless. We basically enjoyed free and carefree transportation for 4 years. So why not higher up this list then? Well, I mean, come on, just look at it. Yes, it would whisk us to the shops or down to a beach bar, but in doing so, it made me look a complete Burke. 9 horsepower? Mrs. RocketMan was convinced we looked like a young couple in love casually winding our way past the Colosseum on a Vespa, but I knew that in reality, I looked more like a Playmobil on day release from a mental institution. Next on the list, well, sooner or later it had to be the Triumph Rocket, didn't it really? This is the complete antithesis of the Honda Vision. It's expensive, it's heavy, it's virile, and it has ridiculous power and torque. Even just sitting on one makes you feel like the Terminator. It's a bit of a handful, of course, on roundabouts, but the acceleration is as immense as it is endless. Long-time viewers will know that I originally began this channel as a way of paying for one, hence the name, RocketMan, and I actually ordered one when they were first announced, only to change my mind when I saw it in person. Side on with these deliciously extruded headers, single swing arm and XXL everything, it does look absolutely epic. But up front with these twin headlights, donut tyre, I don't know, there's a faint whiff of The Simpsons about it. And then there's the ownership experience. I just didn't think it would be for me. I don't know where I would actually ride on a Triumph Rocket. It's too big and too heavy for the city, it's too uncomfortable for long rides, and in the twisties, well, it's too big and heavy again. It's a bit like one of these, totally awesome, but ultimately ever so slightly awkward on the roads. I would love to have a Triumph Rocket in the garage as a testament to the petrol age, but I'm not sure I'd actually ride it that much, so I can only put it at number 5. Talking about garage queens, the Panigale V4 has to come next on my list. I didn't ride it long enough to publish a review, but the 10 minutes I had was all I needed to realise that 214 horsepower in a bike weighing only 174 kilos is about as close as you're ever going to get to being astride an air-to-air missile. In a nutshell, the V4 is as terrifying as it is beautiful. Of course, you don't have to use all the power all the time, but then what's the point in having one? You can use it as decoration in your garage, or preferably living room, I suppose, like the work of art that it is, and it certainly takes up less space than a Ferrari or a Bugatti. This is a fabulous bike, but maybe one that's just too fabulous for yours truly. And it's also quite expensive, and it gets very hot, which isn't great down here in sunny Portugal. The V4 is the gorgeous blonde at the bar, a wonderful fantasy, but would you honestly want to live with such high maintenance? In at number 3, the venerable Honda CB500X. Now, venerable isn't usually synonymous with exciting, and yes, this is possibly one of the least inspiring bikes on the list. But I'm putting it in at number 3 for 2 reasons. First, of all the videos on this channel, the ones dedicated to the CB500X systematically do well, And my top video of all time, in terms of views at least, was my brief review of this much improved 2022 model that I posted last December. So this is a bike that people are interested in. It sells in just about every country on the planet. Second reason, while it might not stir the soul, it ain't half good at just being a motorbike. It's reliable, robust, and just gets the job done. And the improvements that Honda made for the current model year, namely the twin brake discs and superior forks up front, have turned a good bike into a truly excellent bike, to such an extent that I'm even thinking of buying one when I get back to France. Sexy it ain't, but if you want a bike that will just do practically everything except perhaps actually excite you, then this is the one to go for. For the number 2 spot, I'm going to cheat and put 2 bikes here. The BMW R1250 GS and the Triumph Speed Triple. Now, as I've always made clear, I expect more than mere transportation from a bike. If it doesn't excite me, then I'd rather take the car. Of all the bikes I've ridden, the Speed Twin got more juices flowing than any other, including the Panigale, which is just terrifying. 180 odd horsepower from a sweet sounding triple engine, fabulous suspension front and rear, and stonking brakes that would haul you up from 100 miles an hour with the lightest of squeezes in what seemed like a couple of car lengths. It's racy, it's sexy, and it's relatively affordable. What's not to like? Well, the engine is ever so slightly linear, and it's not exactly Panigale beautiful, but I still like one. The GS is kind of the polar opposite. It's brilliant, but I'm not sure I'd want one. It's fantastic, torquey, sporty engine, go anywhere looks, take me around the world reliability and parts availability, supremely comfortable, and more aftermarket accessories than you can shake a stick at. One of the nicest bikes I've ridden, if not the most thrilling, and of course, every man and his dog has got one. Literally half the bikes I encounter on the roads down here in the Algarve are BMW GSs. Nothing wrong with that per se, and it sort of proves what a great bike it is. It's just that I personally like a bit of quirkiness, a touch of individuality that's hard to get with a GS. This is a brilliant but slightly nondescript bike, a sort of Uber CB500X at 3 times the price. Okay, hands up if you've been expecting me to stick my Triumph Speed Twin at top spot. But no, that would be too predictable, wouldn't it? I do love my bike, but I don't think it belongs in this list, simply because I don't need to remember it. It's available in my garage 24/7, so kind of by definition it's not memorable, at least while I still own it. Maybe if I sell it one day it would earn a place in this list, but not for the moment. But despite this, the number 1 spot is actually a very easy choice, even though I probably haven't ridden it. The best bike ever in the world is the one that you have in your garage right now. So enjoy riding it, and don't worry about that 30 grand Panigale that you think you want, because you don't. As the French say, le mieux est l'ennemi du bien. So be happy with what you have right now in your garage or outside your front door, be it the lowly Honda Vision scooter or the bonkers Triumph Rocket. You already probably own the number 1 best bike in the world, and if you don't, then by all means take inspiration from this list. Now, if this video does well, I may do a worst bikes ever, and I already know what the number 1 will be in that video. So let me know what you think, and as always, thanks for watching.